So the Spurs just lost game 2 to the Knicks, and it's looking like it's over. I would typically say in this situation, crazier things have happened, but they haven't really. There's been 36 times where a team's gone down 0-2 in the finals, and only 5 of them went on to make the comeback. And of those 5, none of them went down 0-2 at home. So this would be unprecedented. Even just looking at the playoffs as a whole, going down 0-2 at home and winning the series doesn't happen often. It's only happened 5 times. But what I do want to clarify before getting into this is I try not to be a reactionary person. So that's not what I'm doing. I am not making this video claiming Wemby's not built for the moment. He had that turnover. Look at him. He's still young. And even if he wasn't, it's okay for basketball players to make mistakes. But this is something that I felt for a while now. And just for proof, before people say it, here's a clip from the recording of my last video where I didn't include it because I couldn't get my thoughts straight. And it felt weird to say this right after Wemby had just won the West. It felt like I would be overly hating and people wouldn't really be willing to listen to me. It's unfortunate, but people are more likely to listen after they have a bad memory of that player. Unseen.
Flashback.
People should be enjoying Victor Wembanyama. Absolutely, you should be basking in this. But I do think we need to rein it in just a little with the historic talk. Wemby is the DPOY. He's 3rd in MVP. He's led the Spurs team to 62 wins, and they're in the NBA Finals. That is unbelievable. But the expectations that are put on this guy just aren't fair. I've heard people say, he's definitely going to be the GOAT, or if he doesn't end up as the GOAT, I'm disappointed. What? Guys, what are we doing? The GOAT isn't just a term that you can throw around like it's nothing. I get it. Wemby is ridiculous. We've never seen a player quite like him. But the standards for reaching the level of number 1 of numero uno, just look at it this way. MJ in year 1 put up these numbers, similar or even better than Kobe's MVP year. In year 2, he breaks his foot, comes back in time for the playoffs, and does this against one of the greatest teams of all time. In year 3, he averages this many amount of points. In year 4, he wins these awards. He spends those next 2 seasons in the conference finals, and then spends his last 6 full seasons as a Bull winning championships. It's a high bar. And if you have LeBron as your GOAT, you are looking at 23 years of longevity. You're looking at a guy who finished runner-up in MVP in year 3 and in year 17. You're looking at a guy who still has expectations on him till this day, who has broken every record or at least appears on every list imaginable. And that's not even mentioning his peak, arguably the greatest physical specimen we've ever seen, the best all-around basketball player ever, and complete domination of a conference for an entire decade. I'll save you guys some time. Wemby is most likely not going to be the GOAT. And that's okay. Wemby's probably not even going to be his franchise GOAT. Why? Because he plays for the Spurs, a team that was led by one guy who was there for 19 years, won 5 rings, 3 Finals MVPs, 2 MVPs, and completed the quinceañera trifecta of All-Stars, All-NBA, and All-Defensive appearances. I'm not going to bet on Wemby doing that because I wouldn't bet on anybody doing that. And that's okay. There's also people saying he's the most skilled big man ever. Ever. In year 3. Ever. If you want to project him to be that, that's fine. But I wouldn't even say he's the most skilled big in our league right now. Look, I know Jokic left a bad taste in our mouth after that first round. Yes, I know what I said. We're just going to move past it. But it's Nikola Jokic, guys. Let's not forget the level of unstoppability that he's been on. I know, as a Wolves fan, that we may have success against him in the playoffs. I know what it feels like to feel helpless against this guy, as do the other 29 teams in the league. And my pick for the most skilled big ever would be Hakeem Olajuwon.
I'm hitting him with lateral movement. He can't do anything.
And Hakeem really reached that peak. He reached that level of basketball mastery after 3 years in college and about 9 years in the NBA to really hone his skills. Wemby's not there yet. And, may as well be my catchphrase on this channel, that's okay. We have, at the very least, you would hope, 10 more years of Wemby doing this. It's a marathon, not a sprint, okay? What a lot of people fail to understand is that growth and success is not linear. Basketball doesn't work that way. You cannot look at Wemby and say he's 22 years old, averaging 25, 12, and 3 blocks, meaning that when he's really at his peak age, when he's 28, he's going to be averaging 35, 15, and 5. It doesn't work that way. There's only so good you can get as a basketball player. The real growth is becoming a smarter basketball player and making the game easier on you, but that doesn't necessarily mean the numbers will follow suit. Look at someone like Luka. We put these expectations on him, and myself included, I was the catalyst of this, that he has failed to reach But it would be ridiculous to say that Luka's been a disappointment. But no one thought that by the time he reached year 8, he would have no MVPs and no championships. It's not his fault, but he just doesn't have those things. It's really difficult to win MVP. It's really difficult to win the championship. Luka in year 2 averaged 29, 9, and 9. In year 3, in his second ever playoff series, he averaged 36, 8, and 10 on 60% true shooting. So what did we do? We took that and we ran with it. Rightfully so. We said he's going to dominate the decade. He's going to be a top 10 player ever. He might even just be the best point guard ever. And as of now, I don't think any of those things will come to fruition. And even though he has become a better player, and he's doing everything he's supposed to do, and he hasn't been a letdown in any way, he's not going to accomplish those things. There are a lot of fantastic players in our league today. I'm a big Wolves fan. I love Anthony Edwards. I have told other people, I've had disagreements with other people, where I've said, Ant is never going to win an MVP. Ant is never going to be the best player in the league. And that may sound like hating. That may sound like I don't trust my franchise player. I do. But I also know his limitations. He's not going to be better than Jokic, than Shea, than Luka, than Wemby. He can outplay them in a playoff series. Absolutely he can do that. But he's not going to be better than them. So let's not give him unfair expectations. Now, just to reel it back in a little, of course, it would be boring if we weren't allowed to project, if we have to take everything at face value. Boring. And not assume that a player's going to get better. That's not what I'm saying at all. But the floors that we put on these guys, we should make a clear distinction between this is best case scenario and this is actually where I think he'll be. These are expectations versus aspirations. I mean, I remember this post from years ago. They claimed that Ben Simmons' floor is Scottie Pippen. Your floor is Scottie Pippen. A guy who at that point, and at no point in his career, had ever been a top 10 player in the league. His floor was projected to be Scottie Pippen. Just to recap, I'm not at all hating on Wemby. I'm not at all saying that he's not going to reach all-time status or he's not going to compete for the GOAT title. But what I am saying is we're discussing things that in a couple games might end up dying out. Because I know damn well if Wemby gets swept, all that talk is going to go away. And it shouldn't, but it will. Because I know how NBA fans are. Even though he's only in year 3, even though the Spurs aren't supposed to be here right now, we are going to remember that Wemby got swept. People still talk about LeBron getting swept in 2007, and it's valid. I mean, yes, it was one of the worst supporting casts ever, but as someone who's watched every LeBron possession from those finals, yes, I'm not kidding, the coverage gets overrated. He was legitimately struggling. He didn't have any semblance of an outside jumper. People are going to remember your lows. LeBron had one playoff series in his career that was 100% on him, that has no justification for. The 2011 finals, of course, and that gets brought up in every GOAT debate. People still talk about MJ losing the ball to Nick Anderson in 95. One turnover 31 years ago still gets brought up in these discussions because when you expect someone to be the GOAT, there isn't much leeway. There is going to be a lot of scrutiny. So all I'm saying, not that Wemby needs me to defend him. Maybe lay off the 22-year-old, don't put the weight of the world on him, because if you expect this guy to be the GOAT, then you're saying he's never going to be able to exceed your expectations. And if you ask me, that's not very fun. That turnover is going to haunt them for a while. But that's okay. That's part of growing as a basketball player. You get smarter. So even if he doesn't become a better shooter, a better passer, a better scorer, a better defender, even if he stays with this same skill set for the rest of his career, he can always become smarter. He can always be more poised. And that's the beauty of basketball. No matter how great your physical attributes may be, it doesn't mean much if your mental can't catch up. But hey, you know who did make an 0-2 comeback after going down at home? Hakeem Olajuwon in 94. So if Wemby wants to rival the most skilled big of all time, and in my opinion, the greatest big of all time, yes, that is one of my major hot takes, one that I'm probably going to make a video about someday. Wow, look at me teasing my content like it's the fucking Avengers. But if Wemby does want to show him up, then now would be a good time to start. Down, 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 down. I'm avoiding copyright. Down, 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 down.